Alrighty, there we go. Well, Kris, it's good to see you, dude. Always a pleasure. Thank you for coming by and thank you for sending me the new debut full-length album from All the Tension, dude. I'm excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. You got a sneak peek, early access of the files in the Google Drive. But yeah, happy to be here, man. We always have good conversation whenever we're out in the wild and we get to interact. We had a good conversation the last time I was on the podcast. So yeah, happy to be here, brother.
Yeah, likewise, dude. Yeah, and that first combo was cool because you took myself and the listeners kind of through like your relationship with music, and kind of how you got started and eventually how you found your voice and developing your voice, and the heavy vocals. And beyond the tracks that had dropped as singles before you guys dropped the full length, um, I really enjoyed Seven. I really enjoyed Parking Lot Malört shots. That's
Hell
that
yeah.
that one's going to translate very well. I've and then the closer, I don't care, which abbreviated IDC, just like and NVM, um,
hmm
was like a super personal one. So yeah, just as like a starting place, man. Like, how does it feel to finally? Because as this hits people's ears, it's going to be early July. Um, but how does it feel to finally have like the record out, like, and just people being able to get a chance to listen to it? Like, obviously, we're recording this, I think, like 2 days before the official release. But as this hits people's ears, it's going to be out. But just to have this done and have it, have people hear it, man. Like, how does it feel now?
Oh, it's great. It's definitely a weight off of my shoulders. Like I've been sitting with it and trying to get it all done over the past 2 years. I mean, I'd have imagined it being done a lot sooner. I think everybody does that when they go into the process of recording a full album. It's just like hard to find the time to get everything done. You don't feel like it a lot of times, like, and stuff, but just to have it all finally nailed down. And also like obsess over the details and like you're like it's pretty good, but I could go back and do this and so for it to just finally be done and over with, it's I do love the process, but God, anybody that does music can attest that it gets old. You get to a point where you're like, I'm just ready to be done with it. And like having people hear it is almost secondary to just being done. But I am excited for that too. Because a lot of work effort thought was put into the songs and putting it together and tried to make a um something that made sense from start to finish. And so like to get it out there and have people actually hear some of the other stuff is really nice. I'm excited for that to happen. Some of my close friends I've shared the songs with have been like, I was actually surprised that a lot of the other songs that are on the album are are so heavy. I think because we only had like Def was the only like really heavy one. That Faster and Faster had heavy elements. They didn't expect the heaviness from the, I guess, that it leaning heavy into the other tracks. So I'm sort of also excited to see that reaction from folks and what their thoughts are on that.
Yeah, man, like this record, I really feel like you guys take people through like the gamut of like the human emotions, man. Like there's some really angry ones. Ruin This Song, which I think that one I know that one was out the last time we talked. That was one of the singles, and that one's kind of like more of a bouncy, lighter, almost got like a pop punk kind of vibe to it. Um,
For
but then
sure.
but the track listing of this too, like the way that it flows. So it's 11 songs. Death is such a heavy opener. Like that's a great opening to this album, I feel like. And you always want to kind of, hit people in the face, like especially when you're doing like rock metal stuff to like start things off.
Oh yeah.
Um, I thought that I don't care, like having that like IDC be the closer too, I thought was really beautiful because that one's like super personal. That's like a tearjerker kind of vibe on that song. How cool is it for you, and how much work did you guys put in collectively as a band, I guess, to figure out the track listing? because I think you and I kind of come from that era of like, you open up the CD booklet, you read the liner notes, you read the lyrics as you're listening to the album on your Walkman. Like I still love absorbing an album as like an album, even though we're kind of in this era of singles. But were there different iterations of the track listing, Kris? Because I thought it turned out really well the way that it flowed.
Great questions, Mike. Well, first of all, you hit the nail on the head, like, because we are the same age, so we definitely come from the same era, and I did love doing that. I loved albums as albums. I loved how songs would go from one into the other, and it just felt like one seamless experience the whole time. And that was definitely something I was very intentional about with this album, that I wanted it to do that. Like the way that you heard it, unfortunately, was probably a bit segmented because you have to like go through the different tracks. But when it's on platforms, you'll be able to hear it is like a kind of a seamless transition from start to finish. So as far as that goes, there was other iterations of the track listing. Um, I had going into it 10 of the songs. Um, done, and it was going to be a 10-song album. And the track listing was a little bit different at the time. I hadn't really thought about how it could work narratively, as far as the album order is concerned. And early on, like Faster and Faster was like track two instead of track seven. Um, and the way that it was listed out before, it did still kind of work. But the reason that it ended up becoming what it is was I kind of realized if I ordered it the way it was, or ordered it the way that it is now, it's like Death is always the intro. That was written as an intro song. It says, like, the opening words are go no further into the dark unless you're ready to see it. Like, that was like, I wrote that song to be like, this is the opening of the album, you know? Um, but yeah, so in thinking about how I wanted to order it, I realized I was like, if I do it this way, it can be like, you have the intro, you have this kind of like internal conflict, external conflict with like other people, and then a descent into what ends up being the end of seven, where it's just like, you know what, I give up, I don't care, I'm feeding the bad wolf, I'm gonna fuck around and find out. And then the last song, IDC, is like, well, I don't really care anymore. uh and and so I really liked how that kind of worked out. Again, like, it felt like a concept album to me at that point, and I loved that. So that's why we ended up going with it. But IDC, that song, again, when I said that it was supposed to be a 10-song album, IDC wasn't even part of the listing. We were probably like a couple of songs being done from recording the album, and I was feeling a type of way, I'll say, and I was at my piano, and I came up with like the piano part, like the opening piano part, and the words like, yeah, some days I'll cry, someday I'll die, no one knows why, but I don't care anymore, came to me, and I was like, I really like that. It sounded really good with the melody and everything, and everything else just kind of like came out of me from there. And writing the song, I kind of just like put pen to paper and just like really just like uh, word vomited lyrics onto the page, and was like, you know, again, and this was just like me, like off the cuff doing this. I was like, this would be like kind of a great closing to the album. It kind of sums it up in like what I call like apathetic acceptance of it all. And so I was like, yeah, fuck it. Graham is gonna kill me. Graham's the one that was like recording it, mixing, mastering, and doing all of that, and helping me like uh, really actually do everything with the album. I was like, he's gonna kill me for adding another song, but I don't care. We have to do it. This has to be in there. So we did it, and I'm super happy we did. I feel like it really puts a bow on the album.
100%, man. Yeah, it's a sick closer. And it's a heavy song in terms of like lyrically, it's heavy. Like the lyrics that you were just talking about, um like listening to the record through a couple of times, man. It was like, whoa, yeah, you're really going to some places on that, man. And I do have to say this too, because I was thinking about it like as soon as I first heard it, and it's like right in the middle of the record. So I feel like it's like the perfect place for the song. Parking lot Malort shots, like when I think of like there's all kinds of songs about like drinking, like partying, like being angry. And I have to say this, and I don't know, maybe I'm gonna ruffle some feathers or whatever, but like for me, like I'm gonna put that right up there now in terms of like heavy, kind of like drinking angry songs. Lamb of God, 11th Hour, amazing,
Hell yeah.
especially Philadelphia Live album. Dude, this is in my top five heavy drinking songs.
Fuck yeah, man.
Parking lot, Malort shots. Is yeah, the riff and like the lyrics, like everything, and it kind of made me laugh too the first time I heard it because I remember the I think it was after the '80s prom show last year, and a few of us went over to Cobra, and we were hanging out, and you looked at me and you're like, "You want to do Malort?" And I'm like, "What's Malort?" And I think I don't know if it was Brand or somebody's like, "Mike, I don't know, man. Like, if you want to do." So yeah, I mean, this would be, and I don't even I had to preface it because I don't even think it's controversial to say that. I stand on it. Yeah,
Hell
I
yeah.
love 11th Hour, and I think Parking Lot Malort shots for me belongs up there with like awesome, like heavy drinking angry songs.
Dude, that means a lot to be put in that like caliber. Hell yeah, dude. And it's funny the way that song came about. Actually on my birthday, I think that same year. Well, like already like because of the whole thing we did at Cobra, like I'm sort of known a bit around the friend group for Malort. And if you're listening and you don't know, it is a very bitter liquor that it just tastes awful. And it's like almost like used as to prank your friends, like to get them to drink it and then you hate it together. And I don't know, it's just funny to me and I love that. And I'm like, you ever seen Princess Bride? The dude like builds up a tolerance to iocane powder, so then he poisons the dude with it. That's kind of how I am with Malort now. I drink, I drink so much it doesn't even really affect me, but it's fun to see my friends get suckered into it. But yeah, I had on my birthday, I went to two different shows, and one of my friends at each of the places had Malort in their car, so we could do it in the parking lot. And I was talking to one of those friends, Jasmine. She's the lead singer of Sheetanist. Awesome band. Check them out. And I said something about parking lot Malort shots, and we needed to do that again. And I was like, parking lot Malort shots would be a great like song title. And she was like, yeah, we'll write it. And I was like, all right. And so it'd been in my mind for like a few days. And I I don't know, you hear that title and I hear it and I would think that it would be like a party song, like you're in a parking lot having a good time, you know. And I think that was my intention when I had said that I would write a song about it. But I was thinking on it and like when writing, sometimes things just come to you. It almost doesn't feel like it came from you, like it came from the universe because this what I feel like is a brilliant line. I love it. You want a war, give me all you got. I'll take you like Malort shots in a parking lot. I was like, damn, that's fucking nasty, man. That is like, and it's so good. And it literally just went from there. I was reminded of this situation with a friendship that had went south. Um, and I won't go into the details about that because we've since made up and everything is totally fine as far as that friendship is concerned. But I was really unhappy with this person at the time, and I had just let it all out in that song. I was like, you want to be petty? That's not the kind of game I play. I listen really like embraced my like inner violent self that really only comes out in music because I'm not a violent person. I've never been in a fight in my life, but I let all that stuff out in the music, and I think that that's healthy.
100% it makes your shit the story, man. Because yeah, like you need healthy outlets for like the rage and anger. So yeah, man, I'm not blowing smoke. First time I heard it, I'm like, I was going through my Rolodex of like drinking songs or like party songs, but that are like heavy, that aren't like, yeah, we're having fun and getting messed up or whatever. And I was like, dude, Lamb of God, 11th Hour. I freaking love that song, the chorus, the riff and the chorus. And I was like, when I listened to Parking Lot Malört shots, I'm like, dude, this 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 rips. This is a heavy, angry drinking song. So I enjoy it, man. And the
Oh
only reason
yeah.
I prefaced is because ironically on another show, there's always haters in comments and stuff. And shout out to my guy Wes. He has the same name as a famous filmmaker, Wes Anderson. And it's weird how the universe ties things together because you're actually wearing the shirt of the band. But we were talking like heaviest albums, and he mentioned Iowa from Slipknot, and then there were comments people like, "Dude, that doesn't compare to like," and like listen to all these other. So like anyway, so Slipknot is awesome and Iowa is awesome, but
Fuck yeah.
my Lord chocolate stick, and yeah, that line is catchy. So, uh, what it's worth, I hope it's part of live sets at future shows because I think people are going to get down.
Oh, it will be. It'll definitely be a staple of our shows for probably forever because, like I said, I'm the Malort guy around town pretty much. So to have that song and spoiler alert for you, we are definitely planning on doing some Malort shots when we do that song. And it's so appropriate that our first show is at Cobra because they sell Malort. So I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And yeah, I fucking love Slipknot, man. I mean, they're a huge influence on me, especially as far as like the heavy vocals are concerned. I feel like I've modeled my screams in part uh, with Corey Taylor. I think him and Chester from Linkin Park are probably the biggest influences on my screaming.
Yeah, dude, I really feel like fans of Linkin Park will hear some of that in some of your streams too, man. And another one on here I really liked, and it was kind of like it was one of those introspective like, but like a beautiful kind of. I don't even know if I would call it a sad song, but it's kind of just one of those things about like getting older. All my friends are dead. That was like, well, that song in of itself, I feel like is like it tells a story. It's like you're talking about all these people, and then you're talking about where they are now and kind of how you find yourself within it. Um, but yeah, I felt like us being the same age, like in our late 30s, like I felt like that was sort of like one of those like yeah, like people are getting older. This is what's going on now, and I'm kind of just in it, finding my way through it. And I feel like anybody who's in like in our age range, especially when you get to your 30s, people start getting married, people get divorced, people have kids, people move, careers, all that. And that song, I feel like really encapsulates like that kind of that whole vibe. Just like growing up as like an adult and kind of being like, this is weird, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That song is entirely about that experience of getting older, everybody moving away or, doing whatever, getting married. Um, it just, it really encapsulates that. My drummer, Tyler Peck, he loves it and was like he said the exact same thing. He was like, dude, this is like perfect for like us millennials, elder millennials that like their friends are all moving away and doing all this stuff. I was like, I know, like that's definitely what it was written about. It's funny, it came about because my in my previous band, Moonlight Drowns, uh my guitar player said something about like all my friends are dead. And then I forget what the context was, and I said, and I'm doing the best I can. And I like just like started playing something on the piano and I came up with that chorus. All my friends are dead and I'm doing the best I can. And then I was like, it's catchy. I was like, I need to do something with it. And I was trying to think, I was like, all my friends are dead. Like, what would have happened? And I was like, oh, it could just be like metaphorically, like they're dead to me because they're all gone. I was like, yeah, that works. So the first thing I could think of is like my best friend Andy, uh, back prior to COVID, had and at that time it was before I got into music. Like in Nashville, really like long story. I've always been into music, but I wasn't like really trying to do anything with it until like probably yeah after 2020. But he was like my best friend. He was like one of the few friends that I had around town, and he ended up dating this girl that he went to school with in Chicago, and then they ended up moving to Arizona together. Which I was devastated about. It ultimately probably led to me honestly like getting into music stuff because he was gone and I was like needing like some friends and stuff like that, and I found Steven, the guitarist in Moonlight Drowns, who I worked with at the time, and we started getting together, and then I started going to shows with him, and that was kind of the springboard to me getting into music. So all that to say, long story to say that he's the first one in the song. He was the first one I thought of, as Andy chased a girl to Arizona. And then I was like, I had a friend Dalton who moved to San Diego. My friend Jared had got a job in Indiana. This guy Kevin I knew moved to Colorado to grow weed when like Colorado was like the first state that became legal, and it just kind of went from there. I was like, so inside baseball, a lot of them are real, like real friends. Some of them are a little stretch of the truth, and a few of them are completely made up just to go with the rhyme scheme or what have you. But a lot of them are real,
A little bit of fact and fiction in that one.
a little bit, yeah. But it was definitely fun to write. I feel like it came out really well. The ending, I was like, I wrote it and I said, because their blood is all on my hands and I'm doing the best I can. I was like, I feel like that can go a couple of different ways. And so that's kind of up to the listener to determine what that means to them. So, a question for you: when you heard that, the ending and everything, and it says their blood is all in my hands, and it says it a couple of times, what did that mean to you? What did you take away from that?
As a guy who moved away, I for me it kind of feels like I'm like so all of most of my like best friends, are like guys I grew up with, and then like I'm 38, we're 38, like I've known a lot of them since I was like 14, 12. So to me, the blood on my hands is kind of like part of this distance is on me too. You know what I mean? Kind of like yeah, like I had to do what was best for me, and that was moving to Nashville. Um, but I think you asking me it kind of makes me feel like that. Like it's relationships are a two-way street, and you do your best to keep things as open, and like I feel like I can gab with the best of them. But like when you move away, it's kind of like that like you're not going to see people as much. Like even my own family, I only get to see them a few times a year. You know what I mean? Um, so I think for me, blood on my hands. I think when it comes to relationships in general, I think it's almost a self-reflective thing for me. Like there's something that I've done to be part of this too, in terms of things, if things grow apart, like you play a role.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear you say that, as that was exactly my intention behind it. Was that, and I because it's not directly stated, like I feel like a lot of things in the song are. I wasn't sure how the listener would interpret it exactly, but that is exactly what I was hoping for. Um, because that's what I meant is that like, now that I'm sitting here, I've listed all the friends that left and I'm bitching about how they're dead to me. It's sort of that realization like, yeah, like these relationships are a two-way street. They're dead to me because I'm not doing anything to keep it going. I think that speaks most true of all of those people to Andy, who moved to Arizona, because he does like we do still keep in contact, and he like I feel like, to be completely honest with myself and everyone, puts in the most effort in our friendship. I feel like he'll call me from time to time, and he'll message me and send me stuff, and I like am not as good about that. And so he was kind of the inspiration behind that line, the ending, the meaning behind it. And that like if you let those relationships die, it is also on you. It's not on them for like doing different things in their life. Like you could also like put in effort to keep those friendships going. So that was one meaning behind it, and the other meaning was like I wonder if anyone will just take it as like literal, and that like all those things I listed are alibis, and I actually just killed them all. And their blood's all over my hands.
All my friends are dead, dude. Yeah.
It's like, no, they're actually dead. I think during the live show, another spoiler alert for that part, I'm gonna have some fake blood to put on my hands for the end of that song. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think, that's part of like growing up, and like there's that old quote too, like you find out who your friends are. And I think the older you get,
Mm.
really, really discover that, or like Stand By Me at the end of it, when you see him typing in the movie, Richard Dreyfuss, and there's that line. I think the short story was actually called The Body, from Stephen King, but the movie was Stand By Me. And he's like, as I got older, I never had friends like the ones I had when I was 12. And it was like, Jesus, does any of us? And it's kind of like something like I always loved the movie as a kid, but then you become an adult. You're like, like it just hits you like, right. It's like a kidney shot. You're just like, because when you're young, man, like you just don't, time feels like like a school year felt like a freaking decade, right? And now I'm
Hmm.
like, been in Nashville for almost 11 years. Like I moved here at 27, and I'm staring down the barrel of 40. And not that I'm scared, like, 40, I don't, age is whatever. And but yeah, like when it comes to friendships and relationships, like, it's a two-way street, and like it's really important to keep those lines of communication open, because I feel like that your late 20s, your early 30s, especially, that's when you start to discover how much of a priority you are to people, and how
Hmm.
priority people are to you. Um, and so yeah, I think a lot of people who listen to that, I feel like everybody who listens to that song, especially if they moved away or had friends that have moved away, will kind of understand that, because it's like, yeah, you got to put the effort in, um, and life gets busier. Like, like I was just home visiting, and got a chance to spend time with my sister. And it was just her birthday on the 17th. Happy birthday, Kaylin! I love you. And her youngest, her child Vic, my youngest nephew, I should say, because I have two nephews. My brother's got two kids, and her and her fiance Josh, they have Vic. And it's just like I remember when, like, running around with my sister, in like the mid 90s, and she was like 6 years old, and now she's a mom with a 1 year old who's running around, and like it's life, just it keeps moving, man.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's important to, really, I guess, just put a button on my rant. It's like, if you have people in your life who you love, tell them you love them. And sometimes stuff isn't reciprocated in friendships, relationships, but I guess I try to like leave the good that I can and extend the olive branch. And if it's not reciprocated, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of all you can do, right? Is put it out there, and and hope for the best. Because yeah, if you don't put an effort into those relationships, they will fade, and that's any relationship. Romantic ones. If you don't put in any effort into those, they will crumble. If you don't do it in your friendships, they'll move on with their life without you. And yeah, that's the moral of the story there.
And another one, and thanks again so much, Chris, for taking the time. I really appreciate it, dude. I
For
mentioned
sure.
Seven. That might be one of my favorite choruses, melody wise and like musically on the record. And listening to it a couple times, what I like too is like, I don't know if I'm saying it right musically, but like the secondary kind of vocals going on behind like the main vocals on the chorus. What was being said on those? Because I was trying to make it out, and it's a really beautiful melody, and it's like super catchy. But that really hooked me in on Seven a lot. Like that whole song is great, but I was like, damn, like that was like a really cool touch on the chorus on that.
Super cool. Thank you. That song it has a pretty interesting story to it as well. Um, I had written a song. It was called Indulge, and it basically was the lyrics of Seven, or some of them. Um, and it was to be the last song on the album. And to be honest, I never really liked it that much. Specifically musically, I liked the lyrics, but like I don't know. I had written the music for it, and I just wasn't crazy about it. And then my bass player, Andrew Bergman, he just goes by Bergman, so it feels weird to call him Andrew. I know that's his name, but he's just Bergman, man. Like, you know. Anyway, he wrote the music to Faster and Faster. Other than that, I had written the music to all of the songs. And he one day randomly sent me this demo of a song he wrote in its entirety. Um, and Bergman most of the time would send me like 30-second clips of a song. It was like never, ever a full song. Even Faster and Faster, when he sent me that, it was like a minute and a half. And I ended up like chopping up the pieces and pasting it and making a full song out of it. But even that one was only like a minute and a half when he first sent it to me. So for him to send me a full song was like, whoa. And it was seven. It was seven in its entirety. And I was like, this is fucking rad. I love this. I was like, I have to do something with it. And so I immediately like went to work with it and I like was trying to think of some lyrics and I was like, oh, you know what? What if I took these lyrics from Indulge and put them with this song? And so the chorus to Indulge is actually the first verse of Seven, almost in its entirety. It was yeah, the whole first verse was the chorus to Indulge. And then at the end of Indulge, I screamed the seven deadly sins: pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, sloth, gluttony. Feed me. Because it was like about like, feeding the bad wolf. And so what I ended up doing for the chorus of this of seven is those like the what you were talking about, like the kind of like secondary vocals there that has like the melody. That's me listing the seven deadly sins. It's pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, sloth, gluttony, feed me. And then it does it again. And then there's like the kind of screams that happen along with it, which were like those were lyrics to the second verse, I think, of Indulge. And then the actual second verse of Seven is lyrics that I pulled from one of the verses of Indulge, I think the first verse, and then I added some to kind of just like sweeten it up a bit. And then in the second chorus and the last chorus, it does a listing of, it says like pain and grief and strife and agony, loss and doubt and guilt and suffering. To me, that was like me listing the kind of result of the sins. So like that's like kind of the outcome. And then it has the bridge that is like kind of the like closing statement of the album. Like this is the end of the era of hypocrisy. Like I'm gonna fucking just indulge in all of these sins and not give a fuck anymore.
Turned out great, dude. I love like the poetry behind it. Because yeah, I was trying to make it out like as I was listening to it, and yeah, that melody it really like brings you in, man. I'm excited,
Super
guys, man. And again, this will be early July, but the show is 6/24 at the Cobra, so we're just gonna manifest that it's gonna be sick, and it will be sick. Um, Sleeper Signal, The Hungry and Dangerous. Shout out to Brand and Sleep Nation. The
cool.
gonna be there. I'm excited, man. I miss all you guys, dude. Brand from Sleep Nation introduced us. I think it might have been at the Void show like 2 years ago. I think it might
Oh,
because you were up there, and ironically, I think you had a slip. I don't know if it's that same shirt, but you had a Slipknot shirt on, and I'm trying to remember what song you did. I'm like, oh, dude, that dude can do like some gnarly vocals. And Brand, shout out to Brand, he's awesome, dude. Like he's like I'm like a extroverted introvert, and I don't like selling myself to people. Like I'll talk to anybody, but I don't want to feel like skeezy, like, hey, I got a podcast, you know what I mean?
and some sundot or like watches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like swatches, dude. Some cats. Yeah, you came up stage and he was like, yeah, let me introduce you to him. But yeah, man, he's been a conduit to me with like so many awesome people in the music scene. Um, yeah, but I think it was at that Void show, and then when they did their album release show over off of like Demumbrian, I remember we got a chance to catch up a little bit more at that show. And then I think that's how you ended up doing the podcast the first time because I think they did that album release show. It was like November or December. It was like later on that year. Um, but yeah, man, and I think I may have seen Sleeper Signal before too. Um, that might have been one of the first like Nashville shows that I went to. I don't know if they were part of Zacapalooza or not. That's when I first met Brand was like back in 23. So anyways, a little
They
music
might have been.
side baseball for people listening. But yeah, that was when I first met Brand was 2023 was they were Sleep Nation was playing at the end because it was like exit in and the end both had shows going on. So it was cool. You would like walk across the street and see people. I think Echo Pilot was part of that too, I believe. Um,
Yep, I was there.
I love
We
those.
hadn't met yet, but I was there.
You're in the and then yeah, and, Sleep Nation played at the end, and I was like, man, who's this dude doing like David Bowie covers? And he had Brand put on the space helmet and the suit, and they were like rocking out, and I was like him and Joey, and I'm like, dude, these guys are ripping, man. And then we caught up in the parking lot, and shout out to this dude Josh too, really really good singer. He's not in Nashville anymore, but he's a really good guy. And we said what's up to him in the parking lot, and then we just started geeking out about Seven Dust, and it was like the Spider-Man meet, and like we just started shooting the breeze about Seven Dust, man. But anyway, yeah, man. So I'm excited for the show, and the Cobra is such a cool like intimate room. Um, I feel like it sounds really good in there, and then you kind of like the way that's set up. It's really cool, like the show like the room itself, but also like the multiple bars and stuff where people can kind of just hang out and vibe. Like I think it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, it's going to be a great environment for it. I actually met Sleeper Signal uh, when Moonlight Drowns. We did our first show back in summer of 22. We were on this weird little show they called Dumpster Fire Festival, kind of like mocking like Fire Festival. And it was at Springwater, which is very fitting because that place is a fucking dump as well, you know? And so like it was perfect for our first show. I mean, what would be better than that? But yeah, we went up and did our thing. And afterwards, William James with Sleeper Signal came up to me and was like, dude, like I love what y'all got going on. He's such like a sweet guy and will just like hype up anybody that he thinks is cool. And God, he is such a sweet man. And I was like, dude, thank you so much. Like that meant so much to me to hear him say that. Just like the stranger reacting well to our show. Again, it was like our first one. I ended up hanging out with him, chatting with him. They went on later and they fucking ripped. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, these guys are really good. And he was like just complimenting us. Like, it just made me feel very like, okay, I'm not off, we're not off base here. Like, we belong here too. Like, it's okay. Like, this guy thinks we're cool, then everything must be all right. And then, yeah, Jordan with the Hungry and the Dangerous, I had met him doing some of these shows like The Void. Actually, the first one that I did was an emo night this guy Mike put on, and I had met Jordan there. And he opened the show. He went out and did Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. And I was like, God damn, the voice on this dude. He could do some insane shit. And I ended up talking to him, and we've just like been friends ever since. So like when Jordan reached out about this show and said it was Sleeper Signal, Sleep Nation, and them, I was like, this is fucking perfect. I know all of these bands, like they're all homies. This is gonna be such a great time. Such an interesting mix too, but I feel like it fits, like that we all fit pretty well together. Um, we will probably be the heaviest ones of the mix, but that's all right. We've got enough to balance it out, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And it's yeah, and that room too. Like I said, I really love the Cobra. I've seen multiple shows there, and it's always a good time. Well, before I get you out of here, Kris, and thanks again so much, dude, for taking the time. Always great catching up. Circling back to Slipknot. And I don't like doing rankings or anything like that, but I'll just ask, um, is there an album for you that's like a go-to for them? I don't know, like favorite. It's like I don't know. I like again, I don't like to like rank stuff, but maybe like an album where you really fell in love with that band because I know what mine is.
Oh, mine was definitely Iowa. You had mentioned it earlier. The Heretic Anthem was the first song that I'd heard that I'd gotten into them. Because I'd heard of them. I'd heard the song Duality. That song like blew up and was big in its day. I'd seen the music video. I'm like, okay, this is like a cool song. Like it's fun. Dude's banging on a keg. But like Duality to me doesn't really showcase the band very well. Like thinking back on it. Like he's kind of doing those scream until my bass collapse and blah blah blah. He almost sounds like he's doing like this Johnny Cash country thing over this metal music. And then he does he sings the chorus. It's heavy, but he does. But yeah, to me, like thinking back on it, it's not a great representation of Slipknot. There are other songs on that album, Volume Three, what I forget what it's called. But a friend of mine, who was a big Slipknot fan, put on the Heretic Anthem one time, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude! This song fucking rips!" Like 555 with a six six six. I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! This song's badass!" And he's screaming the whole time. I was like, "God damn it, this is fucking cool!" And he's like, "Yeah, dude." He was like, "This whole album was like that." And we ended up like he like ended up putting it on, and we listened to the whole album because he had it on like a burnt CD. It was like a mix, like he did back in the day. And he was like, I've got this album. Let's just listen to the whole thing. We were like riding around getting high, what we did as fucking teenagers. That's all we had to do in East Tennessee. But yeah, I remember listening to that whole album and being like, okay, yeah, I'm a huge fan. So I was easy number one for me.
It's a hell of a record, man. I think the Heretic Anthem was about a record executive who told them like it would never like amount to anything. And then when they went platinum, I can't remember what they mailed him, but it was something gross or whatever. Like they sent him something in the mail when they went platinum.
Hell
Uh,
yeah, man. I gotta look that up. I didn't know about that. That's awesome.
yeah, I don't I'm try I don't want to like get the story wrong. Again, people come at me in the comments like I love Slipknot too, for you Slipknot fans out there. Love them. But yeah, I think that was the story behind the Heretic Anthem. It was like some record executive was like, you guys are never gonna like nobody's gonna listen to this. And then that first record, like they just blew up and went crazy. And then Iowa was like they made like the heaviest, gnarliest thing ever. I love I love the Heretic Anthem. Uh, My Plague, I love too. God, I love that.
Yes.
Oh my God. And like, I would say the record I really fell in love with them was probably All Hope Is Gone for sure. Um, I don't know. I just feel like Snuff is on there, and like that's such like a really sort of like a contrast to the heavy Slipknot, but again, heavy lyrically, kind of like what we were talking about with IDC, where it's like musically it's light, but like lyrically, God, that's such a heavy song just about loss and like grief and just like being in that. Wherein Lies Continue, like I always loved that one. Kind of a deep cut off of that, but yeah, All Hope Is Gone. I still haven't seen them live, dude. Have you had a chance to experience it live? I still
I
the next
oh
time they
yeah.
I gotta go. We're
You
just
gotta see him. I actually saw them in 2016, I think. Them and Korn were at Bridgestone. I mean, what a hell of a show, man. And like, God, I love Korn, and Korn went out there and was awesome. And then Slipknot came out there and was like, and stole the show. I mean, because there's such a big production, like, because they're more than just the music when it comes to their live thing. Like, it's a huge thing that they do. It is like, oh my God. Whereas like Korn, I mean, they were awesome. Jonathan Davis is fucking great. I love the rest of the band. Don't get me wrong; like they were great musically, but they came out. They're like a normal rock band that you see anywhere. They're of course they've got the lighting, but really you're just seeing the band up there doing their thing, and it was awesome. But Slipknot came out there, and it was a fucking show. you know, like of like Broadway proportions. Like it was just huge. And when they would do the screams like some of the moments, like Heretic Anthem, for example, Corey Taylor screaming, and they've got two other ones screaming with them, and it's like stacked high and low, and it just sounds fucking thick and nasty. It was like, God, I was just blown away, dude. I was already a fan, but I walked away from that being like, yeah, an even bigger fan. And yeah, you got to see them.
yeah, they're absolutely like they're probably number one of like bands I haven't seen live for sure. And I think I remember that show coming through. Because that would have been yeah, because didn't the Gray chapter come out in like 14 or 15 in that?
Hmm.
So it kind of makes sense, yeah, that would have been I did get a chance to see Korn, also top five all time for me, one of my favorite bands ever. The Untouchables record got me through my freshman year of high school. Um,
Nice.
I still have that CD. It's scratched to all hell, um, but yeah, that record I love. But they one of my favorite riffs ever and my favorite Korn riff, and it's like a top 10 riff for me of like any band, any genre, is Here to Stay. Just that doom, 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 doom. Like you can't not do this when you listen to it. Like it's just so
Absolutely.
still remember that video when that came out. I think I was in eighth grade because Untouchables came out like the summer of '02. It was like between eighth grade and freshman year of high school. And I remember that video with like the staticky TV and just I heard that riff and I was like, oh, like it was just so freaking awesome. And obviously, like I already loved him at that point because Issues had like so many bangers on it too.
Oh
Um,
yeah, falling away from me. Somebody, someone.
Make Me
Lots of
Bad.
good ones. That Make Me Bad.
Yeah.
That had a weird ass music video. It's funny you say that, like, because we're exactly the same age. So you talk about like being in eighth grade and like seeing that. I was like, yeah, I was in eighth grade too. Like we lived basically the same timeline. Um, my cousin had let me borrow the Issues album. It's sort of funny talking about this is like things that would never happen now. Like lend somebody a CD. But he had let me borrow it because I wasn't super into them until like I was hanging out with him and he liked them a lot. And I was like, dude, this fucking rips. He was like, here, you can borrow it. He was like, I've got every Korn album. So he's like, I'll be good for a while, but get it back to me. And I wore Issues out. Like I borrowed it from him for a while and ended up getting my own. I had to get my brother to buy it for me because parental advisory. My parents want to buy me those CDs, but my brother would. But yeah, Issues is when I feel like I became a Korn fan, and so they definitely inspired me early on. But Untouchables, yeah, that came out. Yeah, we were in eighth grade, and that was fucking sick.
Yeah, dude, that record, I feel like I like and Jonathan Davis has talked about in interviews about how like at the time that was like the best studio equipment and everything. Like I think that record cost a lot of money to make, like even for that time. Um, and sadly, I think that was kind of around the time that Head was really kind of going through a lot of stuff that he wasn't sharing because it was only like 2 years after that where he left the band and people thought he went crazy, but really he was like, I think he was doing meth and just had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life. And when he joined with them again, I think it was 2012, and it was at whatever the one is in Carolina. I'm trying to think of the name of the festival out there. Um, and he came up there and did Blind, and people were like, "Oh my God, his Head coming back in the band." And Jonathan Davis like is one of those guys that wears his emotions on his sleeve. Like I've seen them twice. The first time I saw them, Head wasn't back in the band yet, and it was still sick. It was 2010, back when they did the Rockstar Energy Mayhem Festival. Um, and I saw them up in Detroit at DTE, which is like an outdoor amphitheater kind of venue setup. Um, but in 2019, I saw Korn and Alice in Chains when they were co-headlining, and Korn came out to Here to Stay, and they did the curtain drop, and it was just like doom, doom. Like I had chills because it was like right back to like 14-year-old me, and like watching them on TRL. Like anytime I've said this like a broken record on the podcast, but like we used to watch that pretty much like coming home from school all the time, my sister and I. And when they would
That's what
die,
we did back then, man. You got home because it was right after we got home from school. It was always on.
it was the perfect time. Yeah, it would be on at like 3:30. You get home from school and you're like, okay, whatever homework I have, I'm gonna watch this. Carson Daly was like the dude, and yeah, anytime like Korn or POD would knock like the boy bands off of like the top spot on like the top video countdowns or whatever, I was like, hell yes. It's like I felt like I took ownership of that. I'm like, yeah, see, they're awesome.
We
Yeah,
were part of that
shout
for
out to
sure.
yeah, and Slipknot, dude. Like I feel like those bands, bands like them, Seven Dust, like they kind of get thrown into that. Well, not kind of, they do get thrown into to the new metal category. And then I feel like people crapped on new metal for a while, and now it's back, and it should be because it's freaking awesome. And like, I don't know how those bands feel about like having like a genre like associated with them, but like before Korn, nobody was doing like nobody was taking seven strings and like just tuning them as low as possible and bringing in like 808s and like hip hop influence and like some of those Cypress Hilly like you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
no, and I think Head, I remember listening to an interview with him talking about how they saw like Mr. Bungle too, and how that was kind of an influence, like just like the weird like stuff they would do on stage. And yeah, dude, I could geek out about that stuff forever. But yes, shout out to Slipknot, shout out to Korn. Well, I'll get you out of here on this, dude. Well, actually, two things. Another thing I want to ask you real quick, and I know I'm a little bit over, but because
We're
you're
good,
an
man.
excellent piano player, and I know I didn't prep you for this one. Are there any and it doesn't even have to be rock and roll. But piano is like such a moving instrument. Like, are there any like off the dome, whether it's just like free shout outs you want to give out, or just like any piano intros or anything in songs that that you really love, or any artists right now that are doing piano work that you really love? And again, it doesn't have to be rock or metal, but I'm just curious because you're good on the keys, man.
For sure. And thank you for saying that. I do appreciate that. I've like fucked around with piano since I was a kid. I feel like we just always had one in the house when I was growing up because my dad plays a little bit. My dad, like my dad and my mom, they're like super into contemporary Christian music. And my dad actually did like a whole album with my mom at one point. It was actually very well done. They like spent a bunch of money on it. Unfortunately, like that was back in the day. They have CDs of it, I think, still, but it's not on any streaming platform. So sorry, I can't really shout them out. But all that to say, I'd always fucked around with piano. I was in band in high school, so I learned music stuff. I started playing like guitar some, and like I was kind of like fucking around with guitar and fucking around with piano. And as I was like growing up and into adulthood, and just kind of at some point along the way, I was like, I'm like better at piano than I am guitar. So I'm just gonna kind of lean into that. I'll just be a piano player. It's fine. I don't have to also play guitar because I was just never that good at it. I could write stuff, and I do write a lot of stuff for guitar. Like I did a lot of the writing of the music on the album, like I was talking about earlier, but um, I just couldn't execute it that well, I felt like. So I always loved playing piano. And long-winded answer to say that there's a band called Chiodos. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Um, they were like one of my um, first like super favorite bands, other than Blink 182. Blink 182 is a long-standing favorite of mine. But I'd say as far as in the like post-hardcore emo whatever genre, Chiodos was like the first band that I was like fucking obsessed with. And they like the opening of the album is a piano intro, and they have a lot of piano in their music, like the kind of like this classical element along with their post-hardcore sound, I feel is like what made them very unique in the genre at that time. Um, and so I always loved that. And so I always knew if I were gonna like to be in a band, it would be like kind of heavy like them and would also have piano elements. So it's like those are two things I knew, two certainties in my life. And so specifically the piano intro in the beginning of the album, All's Well That Ends Well. Fucking sick way to start the album. Definitely check it out if you're not familiar with it.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, there's I love piano a lot, man. It's just there was a guy who did kill switch, and he made, instead of kill switch engage, he called it chill switch engage. And you can find it on
I
YouTube.
love that.
Dude, and it's so beautifully done. Like he like all like and it's if you just need to like reset like your brain, and you're just like, I just need to like zen out, like put that on YouTube and listen to it, because I mean it's probably like an hour's worth of like their material that he just put all on piano. It's so cool and beautiful. Well, the last thing I'll ask you, and thanks again or taking the time, man, and thank you to everybody who's listening. Definitely go check out All the Tension. Check out the debut record, man, the self-titled record. I love how you do have the logo on the back too. It's actually really cool to see it blown up.
Yeah. It's a cool ass logo. I love it. So happy to share it.
So shout out, you said Graham produced, mixed, and mastered, and then
Hmm.
who did the logo, the All the Tension logo? Because I don't know.
Um, it- I created it.
It was you?
Yeah. I got a little bit of an artistic side as well on that front. Yeah, I basically put it together in Illustrator. Um, yeah, I had the idea. I was like, because I had the name All the Tension, and I was kind of like spitballing ideas of what a logo could be, because that was like something that was important to me. I wanted to have like a logo that was like our logo, that you could just see the logo and you would know it was us. And I was like, kind of thinking, honestly, I was initially thinking something more simple, but I had this idea of like tension spring. What if it's like a balled up spring, like you took a slinky and just fucking mashed it all up? Like that would have a lot of tension in it, right? Like, physical tension was like sort of what I was thinking. I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. What also if it had blood on it? That's pretty tense, I guess. So that's where it came from. And then I like put it together in Illustrator. I hand drew the logo, took a picture of it, put it into Illustrator, or the text. I think you can see it down there. Does it say it? No, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I hand drew that on paper. And then I put that into Illustrator and like outlined it with the stuff to make it look similar to the logo. But yeah, when I came up with the band name, there's a song called The Tension and the Terror by a band called Stray Light Run. And I thought of that song and I was like, it could be All the Tension or All the Terror. Both of those sound pretty cool. And I wrote them out on paper and I was like, they both look cool. They both sound cool, but All the Terror sounds more like a deathcore band. And All the Tension sounds more like what I'm doing. And so I went with that and then kind of went from there. And what you were saying earlier, like you feel like the album like kind of encompasses all of the emotions. That was very intentional, and that was my thought behind it, was that it would encapsulate all the tension. So there you go.
That's sick, dude. Yeah, I kind of remember the first time we talking about the name a little bit, but I guess it slipped my mind that you did the logo too, man. Yeah, it's sick. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think people are really gonna love it, man. So yeah, I'm manifesting that boy, my Midwest accent came out so hardcore. For the
I love it, dude.
manifesting, but I am manifesting that people are gonna love it, and I know they will, dude. And yeah, I'm excited for the show. So by the time this hits people's ears, it's gonna be out. So everybody go check out All the Tension. And yeah, and I feel like I usually close with mental health, but I feel like we've I feel like if because mental health does matter a lot, and that's kind of the meaning behind March 4th. And I actually feel like this record is it covers the gamut of kind of the human emotions, kind of like what we were talking about, from anger to self-reflective, self-inflicted wounds, friends, moving, like all that stuff, man. And so yeah, dude, I'm really excited for you guys, man. I think this is the tip of the iceberg for all the tension. So I'm excited for people to experience it live, and for everybody to hear the full record that I'm fortunate enough that you gave me a sneak peek on, dude. So thank you so much. Thank you for staying a little bit over. I try not to rant too much, but let them know where they can find you out there, dude. I'll put the links in the podcast description, but shout it out.
You got it, dude. Thanks so much for having me. We always have good conversation out in the wild or on this podcast. I'm definitely down to do it anytime. But yeah, we're on all the platforms. You can find us at www.allthetension.com. There's links to all of our pages there, or just look us up on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I mean, music.
Or both. Both
Or
you can.
both. Yeah, absolutely. We're on the podcast too now.
Well, Kris, thanks so much, dude. I really appreciate it. It's always great catching up with you, and looking forward to seeing you soon, dude.
You got it. We'll do it again sometime.